Okay. So the next thing I'm talking about now is talking about the small tag. I'm talking about image tag. Then we'll move ahead to talking about the div tag. Now, those tags are also very important, in fact, especially your div tags. And I will just go ahead and explain some of these things. So let's talk about small tag. Small. Now, your small tag is not similar to the paragraph or similar to the span tag. Your small tag is just using what? Writing small text. So for instance, you just want to write small text, you want to write anyhow text. You can go ahead and what? Write your small tag. So if you check it out, what can you see here? This is a small text, right? But check out the size compared to your paragraph and your span tag. Do you notice it? Very, very small. And on a dark background, it's going to be a little bit dim, probably gray color. Do you get it now? So now this is one thing about your what? Your small text or your small tag. Just using what? Writing small text. Do you understand it? Yeah? Good. So I think it is well explanatory. One thing that you need to know is just know your opening and your closing tag. And then other tags you fill in easily. Now, the next one that is going to take a little bit of our time is going to be your image tag. And this brings me to my next point, right? And what's the point? The point is that you have opening and then you have what? Closing tags. That's very much important. You have opening and then you have closing tags. Then you now have what? Self-closing tags. Now, I'm going to tell you the difference between your what? Self-closing and your opening tag. Now, I want you to check this out. Check out your image tag and check out tag. What do you notice? Yeah, but just tell me what exactly you notice about it. Okay, you know what? I'm going to remove these two things. Don't look at those ones. Look at it. Yeah, it is self-closing, like I said. It does not have any closing tag. That's the major thing. Now, unlike your small tag here, content inside of it, and then there is a closing tag with the what? With the forward slash. But this one just has this tag name and then forward slash and closing it. Now, this is an example of a what? Of a self-closing tag. Of a self-closing tag. Do you understand now? So self-closing tags are basically those tags that have no closing tag. So you just open it up and then they close it up and so in the opening tag. And why is it like that? It's very much important for you to know why. Self-closing tag do not output text. Their only job is to what? Output contents that are not text. Whereas opening and closing tag will have text outputted in them. Do you understand now? That is one thing about what? Your opening and then your closing tag. So that's why you see that, okay, this place, there is still a space for you to write your content. But yeah, there's no space to write any content. Your self-closing tag only have access to what? Your attributes, which we'll get into very soon. And before then, I'm going to talk about attributes now. So when we talk about attributes, what are attributes? The attributes will basically add additional information or task to an element. This is important you know this. Attributes add additional information or task to an element. Very much important. Your attributes will add additional information or task to an element. Do you understand it? Now, what is the additional information or additional? Sometimes those additional information can be your class name, like you were asking them, can be an identity, can be the name, can be the source, can be the link. Do you understand now? But I'm going to get into it. Now, how do you write your attributes? Your attributes are not just written like your tag, right? Your attributes are written in the opening tag. So for instance, this is a small tag, right? I can give it a space and write an attribute. I can say, oh, I want to write a class. Now, I'm going to give the class like, let's say, another name. Now, this particular class that I wrote in the opening tag, right, is an attribute. And this attribute of class is saying, oh, I'm giving this particular small tag another name. So in my CSS, if I go ahead now and I access another name in my CSS, what am I doing? I'm accessing that element of small. Don't worry, I think I've overshoot now. Let's rephrase. Let me rephrase so that you won't get confused. Your class name is what? An attribute, which we'll talk about extensively later. Now, attributes will just add additional information to a specific tag. It will either give it additional information or give it additional task. Those two things. Now, what is the additional information here? Additional information here is saying that, okay, this small tag that is here has another name known as what? Another name. Let me just give you pause so that it's not going to. So now, a lot of us here have probably more than one name, right? You have your first name, and then you probably have your middle name. Now, that middle name, see it as your class name. In the sense that if I only want specific people to know that particular middle name, I'm going to tell them that middle name. Do you get now? So now let's not say the first name of this particular tag is what? Small. But it also has another name, which is called what? Paul. That's what your class name is. Now, what has it done? It has added an additional information to it. Do you understand attributes now? That's basically what your attributes are. So attributes will add additional information or additional task to that element. Now, let me go to the additional task. For instance, your image, this is just your normal image, right? How exactly will you not display this image? You're going to use an attribute of what? SRC to display that image. Now, this SRC is what? Additional task. Now, if I go ahead now, I mean, okay, a lot of us definitely watch football here. So I'm going to use the image of the GOAT. What's his name? Ronaldo. So, so let's use Ronaldo and use his name, his picture. Of course, he's the GOAT. You understand? So I'm going to use his picture. Let's check it out. So I'm going to copy image address. Then I'm going to paste it in the chart here. So let's use the SRC. And let us check it out. Now, if I save it up in this SRC and I come back to my, now as you can see the image there. That's what? Additional task. Why? Because we use the attribute of what? SRC, which is known as your source. Do you understand it now? So I want you to understand this important thing. Your attribute will add additional information or task to an element. And your attribute is often in the what? Not often. Always in the opening tag of an element. Now, in some cases whereby it is a self-closing tag, you just put it inside of that particular self-closing tag. But if it's an opening and a closing element, it has to be in the opening. You understand it now? That is one thing about your what? Your attributes. Now, do you understand attributes? Do you understand self-closing tags? Any questions? Or move on. Yes. Yes. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, now let us talk about image tag in detail so you can see it. Your image tag comes with two main attributes. First is what? SRC. Second is your what? ALT. I'm going to tell you the meaning. SRC means your source, which is the link to the image you're trying to output. The second is your alt, which is your alternative. Alternative is like an alternative text in case the image doesn't load. How many of us used Instagram in 2014, 2015 when it came out initially? Okay. What about Facebook? When Facebook came out then? Now, there is something that is always common. So for instance, let's say you're trying to load up a picture. That time, internet is always slow. Then it looked fast, but it wasn't fast. It was very slow because you cannot use that internet now. It's actually very slow. So, what phone was I using? I think a Java phone. Or this that used to load Facebook. Now, there's something you notice. If you're trying to load a picture, let's say the picture is a picture of Barack Obama, and then it is not loading up fast. What do you notice? There's a text that comes up that says a picture of Barack Obama, which how many of us good? That means a lot of us actually saw something like that. Now, that is basically what your alternative text is. Your alternative text is saying, oh, in case this particular picture or image somehow does not load due to some unforeseen circumstances. Now, what could those circumstances be? For instance, the link is broken or the link is incomplete. Secondly, there's a bad network in that area, and then you need to work now give that user time to load up. You want the user to know what is there, because a lot of users actually lack patience. Actually, a lot of us lack patience. We don't want to stay too long loading a bad thing. So we'll just alternate the text. Now, for instance, let me show you what I'm trying to say. If I put this image now in the source file, again, that your link to the image has to go to the source file. And then I check it out. What do I see? Image of the goat. Do you get? So now, for instance, let's write the alternative text. And the alternative text is what? Of course, the image of the goat. Image of not a calf now, the goat. So let's write the goat and let's check it out. So now, of course, you're not going to see anything. Why? Because the link to the image is still working. But for instance, let's just remove something from it. And then let's check it out. What do you find out here? It is nothing is there again. And then where's my alternative text? So let's check it out. I think it's still loading. Now, as you can see, it's telling there's a picture here, there's an image here, and the image was the image of the goat. Now, that's basically one thing about what your alternative text, just to provide additional. And this particular alternative text is very much important. It helps with SEO. I don't know if a lot of us have heard about SEO. SEO means search engine optimization. So it helps in getting your website, listed. Let's just use that word, listed. Boosting up engagement, boosting up traffic. When I say traffic, people can actually get to see your website more, a lot of times. That's traffic. Boosting up all of those things. Now, if your website has a good SEO, it has good accessibility. That means it is easier for people to access your website and even see more of your websites. Do you get it now? Now, that is one thing about this particular ALT, this alt. It's very much important that you understand how and why you use it. Okay, so moving on. That is one way to use your image tag. Now, there's another way you use your image tag. What I did here was that I went online to Google to copy a link, right, and paste it in the source file. What if you want to use an image from your own computer? How do you use it? Now, let us do that. So let's say an image system. Right, so now let's just check it out. So you're going to have your image tag, of course, that has two major attributes. The first is what? Source. Second is your ALT, which is your alternative. Now, let's say I want to grab a particular image from my computer. I just hope I have a lot of images. So now let me grab this one and let me bring it here. So all you have to do is drag and drop it in your Explorer. You understand? So you can go to your wherever your image is stored, drag it and drop it in this Explorer right here. Or if you cannot do that, there's also another alternative that I like to give. And what's the alternative? Alternative will just be to what? Click on File. The way you open your folder, click on File. It's going to say Open File because your image is a file. Open File. And then you can go to anywhere to see, you go to your downloads. So I'm going to scroll down to where that image is. Do I have it? Okay, so I'm just going to actually take anything. Okay, I think I've sent this. So as you can see, open it up, then I cannot drag and drop from this place. You understand it? Just to have that particular image. So now this is how you can have an image in your folder. Now, how exactly will I get this image to show? Very, very easy. I told you that your source file, your source attribute rather, is supposed to take the link to the image. Now, the link can either be online or can be from your own computer. What's the link to this image? me2.jpg. All I have to write of me2.jpg. And if I save it up, what do you have? I'm going to have this in my file. That's how you can choose files in. But it is not always advisable. Now, there are two things here. It is not always advisable to just put your images like this. And secondly, it is not always advisable to have your image directly in your source folder or your source code. It's not even advisable, except you are building something very small. But if you're going to build something that is very, very large, very big, your images should not be. Your images should actually be stored somewhere on a database whereby you cannot easily access or access data in your code. That is the best way to use your images. Because one thing is that one thing about having files saved in your Explorer is that your website now becomes bulky. Sometimes it takes time to load, right? That's why they go to some website, they are taking forever to load because they are too bulky. And then some clients or some users they don't have that patience to wait 10 seconds for a particular page to load. I, for one, I don't have that patience. If something is taking 5 seconds to load, I leave. You get it now. So that is one of the things you need to put into consideration. And the second thing is that you cannot write your images like this. Your images have to be stored. What if you are trying to work with 50 different images? What happens? Are you going to list out 50 different images like this? It becomes too bulky. So what you need to do is what? First of all, create a folder. Name that folder images or assets or whatever it is you want to name it. So I'm going to name my images, right? And then I'm going to put this particular image inside of that particular folder so that my image is no longer going to be just scattered around. So as you can see, I have images and I can have multiple images in that images folder. And if I want to close it, I close it up, you can't see anything, which means this place is still neat. As a developer, you want to write neat codes. You don't want everything to be too bulky. You want other developers to see your code and immediately understand what you're writing. Because you're not going to be the one writing code. You're not going to be the only one working on the project. Sometimes in enterprises, you have a lot of developers. So what if we are working in the same place and I see how bad your code is, or you see how bad my code is? I might even recommend that they sack me. Do you get it now? Because that's how it is. You need to write clean code. Very much important. And that is why all of these things need to be well structured. Now I've written my image. I've created my image folder and I've added my image to that particular folder. Now let us check if that image is still going to be dead. As you can see, image is no longer there. Why? The image that I just showed now is no longer there. Can you help us? Thank you. Images folder, very good. So I moved that image from this Explorer that was here to this place, right? Now because I moved it, it stopped showing. So how will I now make it show? I told you there's something we call link. You need to write that particular link to that image. And the link to that image is not just going to be the image link now. It's going to be the image link and the directive or the directory, or let's say project folder to that image. And what is the project folder name? Images. So that means in this link place now, all I have to do is come to the front and say images /. Now, this means that what I'm saying, okay, I'm getting that particular image from where? Images folder. Right? So if I save it up now and I check here, what do I have? I'm going to have that same image again in this place. That's it. You understand? How this is not getting too much. Actually, explain it again. Okay, let me explain it again. So, good. I'm going to bring this back. Now, you have this images folder, right? And we now took this inside of the images. Now, what we've just done is that we've altered the link of this thing like this. The link is no longer me2.jpg because it is now inside of what images folder. So for you to get it out, so what you have to do is that first of all, you have to access that particular images folder, which is the path to your image. So it's one of the images, right? And as you can see, you're accessing the folder now. /, then you have what? An image here, me2.jpg. Do you understand now? So right now, you've not been able to get the image inside of this images folder. Multiple images, exactly. Still the same way. So let's say you want to have another image. Let me take this and let me put it inside of the images folder. As you can see, I'm just inside of the images folder. Now, let's say I want to have the same thing. I can do the same thing again. I can say image, img, images, /. As you can see, you have two different images now. If I pick the first one, what happens? You can see what the first one. You understand it now? Now, that is basically all your images folders same. Any question? So far, do you understand this? I'll ask question after the class. So, do you understand it? Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why is it so?
What's the thing like? Yeah.
I don't know.
That was a question that I was saving for you people. A very good question. I like that question. But I'm saving it for you. So who wants to answer the question?
That's for CS.
Eh? That's for CSS. It's not actually for CSS.
Oh, is it? Oh, I mean, it's time.
No. So if you use break tag, you solve it now. Why is it on the same line? Who wants to help us? You want to help us? Try now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is because your image is also a what? Inline element. Any elements that you see that they are appearing on the same line is what? Inline. So if I ask you this question now, why is your H tag breaking? Because they are block elements. So if you look at it now, this particular H1 is on this line, next one is coming on the next line, coming on the next line, coming on the next line, coming on. That's block elements. Same thing with your what? Your paragraph tags here. Do you understand? But your image tags, they're on the same line. Now, even looking at this one, this is a paragraph tag, your small tag. They're all on the same line with this image. The only reason why you think they're not on the same line is because this image is long. If they are the same, this thing, you still see them on the same line. Why? Because your image tag is basically what? Inline element. You understand it? All right, good. So now, we've talked about every single thing that matters. Then we'll be moving to your deep tags now, which is also a very important aspect of HTML. I'm going to give everybody 5 more minutes to write it up. Just write it, ask questions in case, because the more you write all of these things, the more you find out, okay, I think I have a lot of questions. So I'm going to give everybody 5 more minutes. Then we'll move it to deep tags. Then we'll talk about links, and then we'll call it a day for today.